You're listening to the True North Success Podcast. Real stories of personal, professional, and financial wins from Alberta's best. With your hosts, Gary Ma and Amy Kim.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Today my special guest is Brian Hull. Brian is a very accomplished entrepreneur and business owner. Over the past 40 years, he's been building a dynamic career in energy information management across the international stage. It's my pleasure to have Brian Hull on the show today. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Gary. It's a real pleasure to be here with you for sure.
So, Brian, I gave a quick overview of your success, but can you fill in the details of what your business is all about, who you serve, and how long you've been doing this for?
Yeah, for sure. GDM Inc. being the company. So it's a company's been around for 29 years, and it's had some very simple beginnings. And the beginnings of it was basically building a need to build data and content relative to energy infrastructure in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So it went on this journey to be focused on, in particular, oil and gas asset information, pipelines, wells, facility, and ancillary information about that. So over the course of the last just about 3 decades, we've amassed literally the largest repository of this style of information in Canada. It doesn't really exist anywhere else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on top of that, we've pivoted a few years back, and we've also developed our own online SaaS solution, which is based on asset intelligence and asset integrity management. So we've now coupled this rich, amazing heritage of all of this content with some very powerful analytics that help people to just run analytics and to understand and be intelligent about infrastructure, what's there, the state that it's in, and then also about the integrity of it. So finding out, well, where's the areas that it needs improvement and where is it running well. And so we have a tremendous number of customers like upstream oil and gas, midstream people, merchant refining, oilfield services companies. So you name it, we kind of do some business with them. So.
Right. So to simplify it, do you collect data and then analyze it type of thing for pipeline and energy type facilities?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in a very encapsulated nutshell, that's really what it is. And software is great, but unless you've got the engine, the fuel behind that engine, the data and the information, it's very difficult to basically progress from that. But then we take it a step further and we apply a whole integral set of analytics to transform that data into
Hmm.
information about the assets. And
Okay.
then a little further, then we transform that into knowledge about that assets, like what's an operating knowledge about a pipeline. And then
I
hopefully with the connection with an operator at that point, we can then reach, the pinnacle of wisdom. I'm wise about that asset now. I understand it and I can predict it.
Okay. So they might be, so let's say a pipeline owner would kind of use this to look at reliability
Yeah,
and integrity.
yeah. Risk is a big part of that actually. Integrity is a very broad word, but if you want to
Yeah.
break it down into, you can look at risk assessment. You're looking at compliance. You look at regulatory auditing. You're looking at environmental impacts. It breaks down into many operational maintenance, that sort of thing. So to be able to look at each one of those facets of the cube and sort of turn it as you need to, that's what we try to help operators do.
Right, right. So the company that you run is GDM.
Yeah.
And what does that stand for?
Well, our tagline says giving data meaning.
Right, right. Exactly.
But the interesting is the actual, so our operating name is GDM Inc. The actual legal name is called Geomatics Data Management.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the true meaning behind the GDM, but our marketing people are quite crafty and they said giving data meaning, which is really what we're all about. Made a lot of sense. But our founder, Mr. Dave McClintock, has his background is in GIX and geodetics and and basically has a wealth of information and knowledge about that. So when he founded the company, and he after a long career in other parts of the industry, he geomatics became a very integral part for him. So he went that way. And you know what? At the end of the day, all data is spatial, right?
Right. So when people hear about GIS, they might not know really or know or understand what that is. So maybe can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, you end up with, again, it's a big subject for sure. But if you look at any aspect where you're sitting right now,
Yeah.
you have a position on the Earth.
Right.
So when you talk about geographic information systems, the aspect of geographic or geography is basically saying, well, how do I position things in some form of a continuum, if you will? And you can talk about different dimensions if you want. Three-dimensional, four-dimensional, add some time in there right now because in an hour you might be sitting somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So the aspect of that is to bring this aspect of precision and accuracy to all information, and then from there, what's the attributable considerations to it? So one of the most important pieces for a pipeline is, well, where is it?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think of Western Canada, there's 700,000 kilometers of pipelines.
Okay.
There's more kilometers of pipelines than roads in Alberta.
Oh, okay.
But you don't see most of them, right?
Right.
See
They're on
very,
the ground,
yeah.
hidden.
So this is where GIS systems and our system has got a founding in that, but it does much more in analytics too. But so you can appreciate where knowing where an oil and gas asset it becomes pretty important relative to its surroundings, its ability to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
As the fact of the matter is, you can't really see it unless
Right.
you dig it up.
Right. Okay. So having that information, the data information about location and the pipeline or what's happening with the pipeline and does it do throughput and things like that?
Yep, yep. So exactly. So any pipeline unto itself has got so many relationships. So you could
Okay.
sit and say, well, what about what wells connect to what pipeline? And where does that pipeline connect to what facility? And what fluids might flow through it? So from an internal perspective,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're looking at for a pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
An external perspective that has influences as well. Well, does it cross a river?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which has an all new interesting consideration for risk or something, or does it cross a road or a hydro line or a railroad? Is it close to a reserve or a park or a wetland or a special protected area or something like that? Is it connected or going through a municipality? Is it going through a First Nations community? So all of these elements come into understanding what's happening with a pipeline, and they
Right.
all feed into the intelligence and the integrity management of that pipeline.
I mean, with your business, what kind of sets you apart from the competition? Like, what comes easy to you that others, would find challenging?
Yeah. Well, my easy answer is we're really, really good at what we do. Um, but if you want to go below that, the biggest thing that we've done is we've spent so much time on the data, so much time on
Okay.
creating this data and this information to the point, again, like I mentioned before, and we have terabytes of it, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
It's massive, and we have over 1,500 feeds of data feeds coming into us.
Right.
And we continue to aggregate that. So having the power of that aggregation of all of that data, and then we have a very strong data team that works with that every day and keeps it current every day. So it basically gives us a view to asset information that really nobody else has. Other people, have some same type of software that we have, but they don't have the data as a starting point, and that's what we have.
Right. So I mean, from the sounds of it, like just having data alone, it doesn't really do anything. But being able to process and handle that quantity of data is really the key.
Yeah, you kind of chicken and egged it there a little bit, I think, and in some
Okay.
respects, and you're on the right path. But I would offer two perspectives of that.
Okay.
One would be having data and but making sure it's cleaned and curated and quality controlled. So raw data,
Okay.
in essence, is has limited use. Let me put it that way.
Right.
But when you've actually created that data and brought it to an information state, and so you've quality controlled it, you've put it into common structures, you've related it to other aspects to make sure that you've got now a set of information that might be what you would call a source of truth.
Yeah.
That becomes more valuable. But you want the analytics. You
Right.
want to be able to then take it further and now create some knowledge and some wisdom on it. So data takes you to the point where you need something to do that for that interface to do. So if you think of it like software in some respects is useless without the data.
Mm.
Data requires software in order for it to do perform the job it needs to perform for people.
Hmm.
So that's the relationship that I would kind of say.
Okay. Right on. What kind of tips or suggestions would you give someone who wants to be more successful, either, like from a entrepreneurial point of view or even from a data, someone who's getting into this business?
Um, it's not for the faint of heart. So, um, I think that you kind of asked me a bit of a question that might be a bit of a life question too, in a way. But I think what you always have to approach these at, and I think the way that I've done it, and the way that I think people need to do is they have to develop an empowering mindset.
Hmm.
So being able to look at that, and I know it's a bit of a frustration from my lovely wife, but she calls me the internal optimist because for me, everything's an opportunity. Even though you have challenges, well, those are just opportunities waiting and that kind of stuff. So having an optimistic, empowering view is incredibly important. But I think you've got to have a couple elements to there that you have to develop a strategic vision to what it is that you want to actually achieve. So if you're going to get into some form of a business, uh, understanding what that business is today and then trying to get as best you can determine what that business is and really should be tomorrow is going to be pretty important just before you step into something for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, that's how, and I'm kind of a bit of a student of strategy as well. So and in my role, it's great because I kind of get to marry the whole thing with long-term vision with actionable strategy, and that's what kind of juices me for sure.
So really, having the end goal in mind and then breaking that down into actionable steps, would you say?
I think so because when you think of a strategy model, and you got to start with somewhere like what's your aspiration? What's the thing that you want to reach for? Where do you want?
Right.
And so if you start there, you can then say, well, what about if I go from there, so where do I want to do that? Where do I want to play? And
Hmm.
you have to define what that looks like and what that playing field is. And then once you have that, you have to then say, okay, if that's the case, then how am I going to go in and win on that playing field? What's the criteria that I'm going to do that's better, stronger, faster than somebody else
Yeah.
that I can go off and actually win at that? And once you have those three things, and I think you have to then make sure that what's the capabilities I'm going to have to do that. So I've got to basically bring in whatever those capabilities are.
Yeah.
And then what are the supporting systems I'm going to have in order to do that? So you've got strategic systems and you've got some core systems that you do. Some of them are simple, some of them are a bit more complicated, I think. But in essence, I think if a person is going to get into the business, that's the model.
Right.
And they're constantly churning. But I will say this: strategy is a theory, and
So tell me more about that,
yeah,
please.
strategy is a theory. When you come up with a strategy, say, okay, based on all that I know, everything
Yeah.
I've looked at, this is what I think, or I would like to see, or I would expect to happen as I head down the path.
Yeah.
Now, things change,
Yeah.
um, things alter, different things come into the picture. So you have to be prepared to adjust as you go along.
Right. Yeah.
So saying, here's my strategy, I'm sticking to it, and I'm not going to change, that could work. My experience is uh, it's it's a wonderful world, and there's lots of different dynamics to it, and you better be able to adjust when you need to. But if you do your homework early, your adjustments are small.
Right.
You could basically be well tuned and okay, I might have to adjust this here 10% or
Yeah.
5% or take this factor in or something like that. So and as you do it and you practice it, it becomes more of a cohesive process for you, I think. So
So it sounds like, okay, know what your goals are, take action, adjust, take some more action, head towards your goal, right?
yeah.
And I guess, okay, over those 40 years, you've come across some challenges. What do you think one of your biggest challenges would have been that you've overcome, and how were you able to turn that into a positive?
Hmm. Biggest challenges. Well, I would be honest. I think probably one of the most notable challenges in business, I would say, has been navigating the dynamics of the various uh, I don't know, the various phases of political climates in our country and around the world too.
Mm,
So the perspectives on and it does have meaningful impacts, if you will, on business itself. And so it's been the past 10 years have been a challenging environment for oil and gas and
hmm.
this area here. And so, companies really needed to find ways to manage themselves through that effectively and minimize the impacts of that. And so, when you see, um, largely what I would say is uh, adjustments or regulation, whatever the case may be, put on an industry that um, causes a pause and causes you to have to reevaluate how, in fact, that you can keep your business moving in the same direction, but now you've got some impedances that might be in there. You got to get creative. And so, that's a change. So your strategy better be able to work with that. So and what's interesting now, so now we're into 2026, and there's some interesting opportunity and optimism in that situation there. So yeah, so how do you then come back and then reintegrate on some of these changes that are there? So yeah, it's I don't think we always want those dynamics necessarily, but you get them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's probably been one of the most interesting dynamics to deal with. And the other part about that is it's a longer period too. Uh,
Mm,
you don't often get, oh, here's something that's going to hit you for 3 months,
yeah.
sort of thing. So yeah.
So the political environment and the duration has been quite a challenge.
Oh, I think it's been a challenge for
Yeah.
industry. I don't think I'm telling you any industry secrets there. I think it's certainly for sure. But you know what? I would say this, and when you come back to when you lessons learned and as leaders and that kind of thing, if you're gonna want to step in to be a leader, you're gonna want to step into that in a company. And I always tell people, there's wonderful aspects in all roles that people do, but stepping into that, couple things you need. You need to be resilient,
Mm,
really
hmm.
do, because you want to be in that level of leadership. Well, where does the buck stop? Well, that's where the buck stops. So you want to be able to be resilient and lead in that way for your people and so on. Yeah, it's and I think our industry, to that last point there, our industry is very resilient. It's
Right, right. It's
we
gone through many, many cycles.
Yeah, and if you want to look at the first in Alberta, like our history is about 160 years from when you could start say there's oil and gas infrastructure's been in the province. So
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. So, yeah, like 160 years, it's gone through many cycles, and
Yeah,
it'll go through many, many as well in the future. And
but
it's a matter of adjusting.
it is. And there's still lots of opportunity, and we're not done yet. And there's lots of voice and benefit we can have, not just for this country, but for the world, for sure. And I can't think of a better industry with the people that have been here over my course of my years and new people coming in. There's not the smart people. Innovation has been a center point of our industry as well.
Yeah.
Working hard, getting stuff done. So yeah, I mean, I'm actually very excited for the future. I'm excited for 2026 for sure.
Nice, nice. Well, it sounds like things were going, really well for you and your business. A lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are making like a very good income when they're actively working. One of the challenges is that when you're not consulting or actively working, there's no income coming in. So that can be a bit of a challenge if the business owner wants to keep their income level high, especially when looking towards the future. They don't want to be having to work so hard for that income. So some of them are looking at different ways to create profit and income outside of work. Things like maybe investing in stocks, bonds, crypto, or using a financial planner or something like that. What are your thoughts about that and looking at ways of creating income outside of your normal work?
Well, I think strategy is as much in your personal life and in your personal perspective to as you're asking wealth planning as it is in your business. So, in your business, you want to have a strategy that grows the business and then makes it prosperous. So, why
Hmm.
wouldn't you want to look at a way to grow your personal life and grow your wealth as well? So and there's lots of great tools that are there. But I'm a very strong proponent for finding that right relationship that who's focused on uh, helping people benefit from growth on their business and then transition into their personal wealth side. So you get a great relationship, don't stop at the first one, but do some good analysis again, as part of your strategy, if you will.
Right,
And
right.
that's been a great benefit for me and my family to have actually, found a great connection that way. So yeah, no, I'm glad I have a plan, and I'm glad the plan is working, and I look forward to at whatever point that is, that next chapter, and to be able to continue a nice life.
Right, right. So create a financial plan with someone that you trust, type of
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, I know some people, and when I was early in my career, I was kind of doing it myself, but at some point in time, realizing, well, how do I balance these things? You got to balance in your life, and how do I, is there someone who does this like as a profession, like I do this as a profession?
Right. Yeah.
And are they more proficiently at this than I would be? The answer is yes. And so, develop a great trust relationship, and then work with that team, and good things will happen. And I recommend people start early on that too.
Right. Through compounding and that the earlier you start, the
Power upon compound growth is not to be dismissed for sure. I mean, there's other elements as well, Gary. You can look at other types of secondary style lifestyle businesses people might want to do as well because it was maybe something like a hobby that now they're doing as well into something as well.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I think there's lots of options, but I think at the end of the day, if you cast your vision, you cast where you want to go, you'll begin to formulate those pieces that make sense for you and
right on.
that
A-
you and your direction.
As we're wrapping up our interview, what kind of exciting plans do you have in the works in the next 6 to 12 months?
Exciting plans. Well, we're from a work perspective, we're doing a lot of great innovation right now. We actually in January we kicked off our innovation team, which is
Okay.
actually taking some people and making very specific on generating new innovative elements to our business, and then working that back into our whole commercial delivery. So that's really exciting. We just hired a couple new people just last week, so we're getting some great growth that way. So we're very excited for the direction we'll do that way. Personally, my wife and I are going to Iceland and Greenland in
Oh,
September.
wow.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's not U.S. territory by then, but we'll wait and see. We'll wear our Canadian flags prominently. So
Exactly. Nice. Brian, that wraps it up for us. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing your insights and thoughts. It was a real pleasure to have you on the show. And Brian, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way?
LinkedIn is probably the best way. It's on there. It's an easy way, of course. Brian Hall, Hall. There's probably a thousand of us in there, but pretty common. Or you can look for GDM there as well. Brian.Hall at gdm-inc.com if you'd like.
Right on. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Gary. Thank you.
Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at truenorthsuccessshow.com/guest. We'd love to hear from you.